Welcome to My Spoonie Sisters, featuring stories from special guests dedicated to empowering those with chronic illness. Our goal? To connect people and provide the support and tools they need to live a better life. For those with chronic illness, our energy levels just fade faster. We must be more purposeful with the spoons allotted to us. So grab your coffee or tea, sister, and tune in as My Spoonie Sisters share stories of living with chronic illness. Hi, my Spoonie Sisters. It's your host, Gracefully Jen, and I am so thrilled to introduce the amazing, the one, the only. This is Geri, and if you don't know her on Instagram, you really need to go check her out. I feel like I'm in the presence of a star. I don't even know. I mean, you're famous to me. How are you doing today, Geri?
Hi, Jen. Thank you so much for the intro. You were making me blush so much.
And I can't help but tell everyone that this is actually our third recording because for some reason we're having some problems recording today. But 3 times is a charm.
Yes. Hopefully this is it.
Okay, so, we finally get to actually talk to each other off of social media. And what a fun thing that is. It always brings me so much joy to connect with all of you outside of our social media.
Yeah, and I keep telling everyone that I have like all of these virtual friends and, I name drop people and then they're all like, who are you talking about? And I'm just like, they're people that I've met over social media.
Absolutely. And my husband, he likes to refer to them as my fake friends. And I point out to them, we do all kinds of shenanigans. We FaceTime together. These are people I spend a lot of time together with because we're busy supporting each other and lifting each other up through the things that we deal with. And to me, that's real friendships.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I don't know anyone in real life with lupus or any other chronic illness. So again, going on social media has been really great just to connect with so many others.
Absolutely. I feel like it's kind of our safe place and it's a relief of a location we can go and talk with people that are like-minded and understand what we're going through, even if it's not the same disease.
Yep.
Okay, so you have a few different diagnoses, but let's start at the very beginning with 2017. How did that begin for you?
So, in 2017, I started feeling joint pain. So, I would wake up in the morning, I'd be, really achy, my joints were stiff, sort of like I had worked out a lot. But again, I did not work out, so I'm just thinking, what the heck is, going on with my body? I was also 27 at the time, so I know people are saying, once you're past 30, your body's never the same and blah, blah, blah. So I'm just thinking is this part of, getting old? Is this what, I'm supposed to feel? I'm just thinking I'm not thinking anything of it at the time, but I'm just thinking, maybe this is normal and, I'm just going to go on with life and see what happens. But
absolutely.
But obviously, that didn't happen. It just got worse. It got to the point where I couldn't open doorknobs. I couldn't, point, write, or do my makeup. And then at that time, I'm just okay, I gotta go see my doctor and just try to see what's going on because this issue isn't getting any better. So I go explain, I'm just I'm feeling these joint pains. I don't know what's going on. But because my symptoms weren't visible, she sort of just brushed it off. I was just you know what? Just, take some Tylenol, do some exercise and stretches, it should go away eventually. And I'm thinking, she's a doctor. She knows, she knows best. So I'm just going to go based on her advice and, just go on, with my everyday life. Not knowing that was medical gaslighting. I had never heard of that term until, all of this had happened. I didn't even think, that occurred when you go see your doctor. So that was a big shock.
Absolutely. So how did you handle that?
So again, I just had to just brace the pain. Just continued my everyday life, but it got to a point where it got severely worse. I ended up having, chest pain. I had shortness of breath. And then my legs started to swell up, my legs and my feet. So from then on, my symptoms were now super visible. So I went back to my primary care, just like, okay, something is like wrong. Like you can physically see it now. And that's when she had her like aha moment, like, oh yeah, there is something wrong with you. Let's try to see what's going on.
So before they diagnosed you with lupus, did they have any questions that it could be anything else, or did they go straight to lupus?
They had no idea what was going on. So that's why they just did like a whole bunch of tests with like the swollen legs and feet. They thought, oh, maybe it's like a blood clot or something. So I remember I had to do like an ultrasound. I did echoes. I did a bunch of blood work. Again, it was just basically trial and error. They had no idea what it was. And I think because she was just like the primary care, she wasn't, a specialist to anything. So she just did whatever test. And then I was just like, refer me to so and so, because like obviously we're not getting to the bottom of it. And so once she did that, I got referred to a rheumatologist, and then the rheumatologist was able to, pinpoint that it was lupus.
Okay. So did the rheumatologist jump to lupus immediately, or did they question any other ideas?
So they initially thought it was lupus and then put me on hydroxychloroquine and prednisone. So basically she was just like, if your labs get better with this medication, it's lupus. So I was like, okay.
Okay.
So my labs did get better. So she was like, yeah, it's definitely lupus. And I also did go to 2 other rheumatologists to just, I was sort of still in like that denial phase. I'm just like, I know something's wrong with me, but, I don't want it to be this. So I went to like 2 more rheumatologists, and they ended up telling me, it is lupus. So, like I said, three times a charm. So from there, I sort of, started taking it all in, and I'm just like, it's sinking in, like, I have lupus.
Absolutely. And so your treatment care plan, did you feel like it kind of had you in a state where you felt kind of normalized, or did you still feel a lot of the symptoms that were happening in the beginning?
So thankfully with the hydroxychloroquine and the steroids, it did help with the joint pain. So I did see some relief on that. So, they're thinking, okay, once the joint pain is good, we're on the right track. But my other labs were still, out of whack. So it was a lot of trial and error with medications. And that's what I see from a lot of lupus patients, is that it's not that like one size fits all. So it really is based on everyone has a different, path when it comes to medications.
And it was sometime shortly after that you were diagnosed with Sjogren's, correct?
So it was 6 years later.
Okay.
In 2023. So again, it was a lot of ups and downs with like medications. I was on hydroxychloroquine. I was on steroids. I was on Cellcept. I was on losartan because I also have issues with my kidneys. So they had to add on that medication. But with that medication, you're not allowed to, get pregnant. And I was at that age where, we're thinking of starting a family. So we had like weaned off of that medication, and then I was put on Imuran. So that one is safe for pregnancy. So again, that was all on and off within the 6 years. And then after that, I developed symptoms of like dry mouth, and I found a lump near my neck. And from there, we decided to do an MRI and biopsies, and then that's when we found that I had Sjogren's and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Okay, so for listeners that aren't familiar, what exactly is Sjogren's?
So Sjogren's is when your immune system attacks your glands and the eyes. So it's sort of like a sister disease to lupus. Because lupus basically attacks a whole bunch of your organs, and then Sjogren's is like your glands and your eyes.
So you're just getting hit from everywhere. And then on top of that, the diagnosis with the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Yeah.
How on earth did you handle all of this being thrown at you?
It was a roller coaster. I sort of just like, I guess like I went to like a mini depression, because again, I'm thinking, okay, lupus, that was already a struggle. And then, I sort of accepted that. And like 6 years later, I'm just like, okay, I can deal with this. And then I get hit with not just 1, but 2. And then you get hit with like the big, cancer word. So it was just a devastating like time point in my life because I'm just like I was 30, 33 at the time. So I'm just like, what else, can like go wrong? Like I already thought like this was like the biggest challenge and now I got like hit with this. So it really took me a while to, just get out of that funk because I'm just like I don't know like why am I like being punished for this? That's basically like what I was feeling like why me? Like why is this happening?
And I think you brought up exactly what most of us think. We go to that conclusion of why am I being punished? What did I do wrong? Why is this happening? Did you feel like you had a good support system as you were navigating all of this?
Yes, thankfully, my support system has been amazing. My husband, who at the time when I got diagnosed with lupus, like we had just been dating not even a year. And he's been through it like since the very beginning. So
Wow.
he's seen me up and down. My parents have been amazing. They all come with me to, like my doctor's appointments. If I need, someone to pick up my medication or anything, like I have someone to always turn to.
That's fantastic. And for those that aren't familiar, you live in New York City, so that's got to be an amazing place for getting the proper care that you need. How do you feel about that?
So New York City has its like pros and cons. It's super expensive, but the healthcare system here I think is like beyond amazing because just getting my diagnosis with like lupus, it took less than, a few months. And I know on average it takes maybe 5 to 6 years to get a lupus diagnosis. So it was very quick once, we got the ball rolling. Within the month that, my symptoms were like visible, I was able to get a diagnosis. I saw 3 rheumatologists, within weeks. And I know for others, it takes like months just to see one. So living in New York City, is expensive, but the amount of like doctors and like just hospitals just in the area, it's abundant. So I feel, it's expensive, but then there's also the pros of like your healthcare system and your like care team is like top notch.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, what better place to be if you're going to be diagnosed with all of these conditions, right?
Yeah. And then my doctors are sort of just like all in like one facility. I know others, they have to go to like different, like, I guess clinics or like offices just to see like their doctors. But mine is under like this one hub. So like they can all see like each other's notes. So if like, I need like a medication upgrade or like whatever, everyone talks to each other, which I think is fantastic. Like I don't have to do anything. Like I don't have to send them, my doctor's notes or whatever. It's literally all in the system and they can like all talk to each other, which I think is amazing.
I think that is amazing. And we have that over here too. I live not too far from Portland, and I think that everybody should have that option available to them. I think it's wonderful when our doctors can communicate and work
Yep.
well together. It really does a better job for us as a patient.
Yep, it lifts that like one less burden because like we already have like a million things to do.
Absolutely. So, okay, what did your care plan look like after the newest diagnosis last year?
So with my non-Hodgkin's, I had to start a round of Rituxan. And because, we caught this early, thankfully I did not need chemo. So they said like, well, just start out with a Rituxan. So I did like 4 rounds of that. And now I'm basically on like a wait and watch approach. So thankfully this type of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is slow growing. So we're now just basically, like doing follow-up scans and just monitoring it. And then from there, we'll see, if we have to do anything additional to the non-Hodgkin's. And then for my lupus and Sjogren's, I'm still on the hydroxychloroquine and I'm also still taking immeasurable.
Do you feel like everything's working pretty well for you right now?
Thankfully, right now, yes. But then again, I thought it was working really well, last year, and then I got hit with something else. So, our bodies is just like, you never know. It's super unpredictable.
Absolutely. And several of us have enjoyed watching all your fun travels. And on the last trip you had kind of a scare with some swelling. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so after my diagnosis with non-Hodgkin's, I've traveled twice, and two for two, I've gotten some swelling like on my face, but thankfully my doctors are attributing that to the Sjogren's and saying, because again, Sjogren's does deal with your glands. So it's like my parotid gland, I guess, the stress from traveling or what, I don't know. But I guess it's just, it doesn't like it when I like being like super swollen and like puffy, but then eventually it goes away. So like that was just a good thing, but I do have to keep monitoring it. So I guess like this just traveling and the stress of everything on my body is just like, my body's like, okay, you can have fun, but calm down too.
Okay, so when this happens to you, is it painful?
Thankfully, no, it's not painful. It's just like a hard lump on like the side of my face.
I feel like that would be tolerable. I just would.
It
I think the self-conscious.
Yeah.
The self-conscious part of us is like, okay, I don't want everybody looking at me. Please don't look at me. I'm fine. Go away.
Yeah. And then the odd thing is that with the non-Hodgkin's, the lump that I had was also painless. So again, I'm thinking, is this a like a cancerous lump? Is this a Sjogren's thing? Like again, when you're just, like when you feel a lump, you're just like, what the heck is that? So again, I don't know myself, what is actually happening until, like I just have to keep on monitoring and hope for the best and that it just goes away.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I mean, that's really the best thing that we can do is just keep monitoring, let our care team know what is going on whenever we notice it. You're doing all the right things.
Yep.
So tell us about your Spoonie Toolkit. What are those top must-haves?
I think the number one thing is definitely my medication. That is always with me, like no matter what. I need that for like survival. Another thing is a water bottle. I drink like so much water. And again, I attribute that to also, I think with the whole Sjogren's thing, like, I don't know, ever since that new symptom, my mouth has just been like super dry. My throat is dry. And like, I always just need to just like drink more water than usual. So I always have that like by my desk or anywhere. Another thing is probably a stress ball. Like, you just need to relieve some of that stress in your life. And those stress balls are just, the thing.
Definitely. That's a good one.
Another thing. Oh, were you going to say something?
No, you can keep going.
Another thing on my list is probably an ice pack. Just for, those days when it's just like, you have a headache or a migraine or anything, or like joint pain, that usually helps with that. And then how many is that now? 1, 2, 3, 4. What else do I have in my kit? And I guess a thermometer.
That's important. That is important. All right. Let's see. What is my next question? Do you hold the treasure map of wisdom for fellow adventurers on a parallel path?
So I guess yes and no. Because again, everyone's journey is different, but I do, have some like tips and tricks that have helped for me. And, it's like pretty general, like how do you talk to your doctor? Like how do you advocate for yourself? So I do have like some of those things like, on my Instagram page. So if people do need, advice as to like how to like talk to their doctors or what to like do in a flare, there's tips on there. But of course, everyone is different, when it comes to like their day to day.
I could not agree with you more. How do you keep that sunny disposition with all the challenges that you face?
So it's definitely not hard. And it's like a roller coaster of like emotions. Like one day I'll be like, super happy, but then like something will just like trigger me like out of the blue. And I'm just like, oh, this is like my life. But again, it's never like, I guess it's never a constant feeling. There's always something that, that will trigger, that happiness or like that sadness, but I'm never in that funk, like, like 100% of the time. It comes in waves basically. And I think like my motivation is definitely like my family, my friends. Like without them, like I really don't know like where I would be.
Calling all Spoonies. As a host of a chronic illness podcast, nothing lights up my day more than hearing from you, our incredible listeners. Whether it's a topic close to your heart that you want us to uncover, or you are keen to show your own journey as a guest on our show, your voice matters. Living with chronic illness can often feel isolating, but through the power of podcasting, we can come together as a community to uplift, educate, and inspire one another. Your stories, insights, and questions drive the conversations we have and the topics we explore. So if there's something on your mind, a story that you are just itching to share, or a guest you'd love to hear from, don't hesitate to reach out. Your voice is not only welcomed here, but celebrated. Let's continue to amplify the voices of those living with chronic illnesses and create a space where everyone feels heard, supported, and empowered. Together, we are stronger. So to go along with that, what's your secret recipe for living your most fabulous life?
I guess just like hoping, like for future like experiences, because like I have a bucket list and I'm just like, I want to do this, I want to do that, and like I'm just like waiting to just like cross that off. So like to just have like goals and just something like you want to achieve like later on, whether it be like traveling or a job or like something, just something that is attainable for you.
What are the top things on your bucket list?
So definitely travel. Like I still want to like travel, and even like within like the United States, I want to visit all 50 states. So that's like one. I am a Disney lover. So I told my husband we need to like visit all of the Disney theme parks.
I love it.
And then just trying out new foods. Like me and my husband loved like trying out, different like restaurants and like just like exploring like different options. And I think that's another thing with like New York City. There's like an abundance of like anything you want is like at your fingertips. You can find something open at like 2 a.m, whatever. Like you're gonna find something. And then Broadway shows. I am a Broadway junkie, so I am always on the hunt for like a new show.
Do you have a favorite that you've been to?
My top one has to be Spring Awakening. It was a show with like Leah Michelle. And then my second one is probably Wicked. I think everyone knows Wicked. Best, like the production and everything, costumes is really, really good.
Okay, that's good to know. I think the only one I've been to is, oh my gosh, my mind's going to go blank. Phantom of the Opera. I went to see Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, that one is really good too. I saw that twice.
I went to see it when I was 16 with my friend for her birthday, and it was amazing.
Yeah, that show was really good.
Who or what lifts your spirits on a difficult day?
Definitely my husband. My husband, again, has been with me through everything. So again, like when we first started dating, he saw like the healthy side. And then when I was going through lupus, when I was going through, Sjogren's and the non-Hodgkins, he's been there with me through like everything. So he knows what to do to like, cheer me up and to just get me out of that funk.
What's your husband's name?
Lawrence.
Lawrence, we're giving you a shout out. You are amazing. You are loved, and you are a wonderful support system. Not that I know if he's going to listen to this, but we're giving him a shout out anyway.
I will tell him to listen to this.
All right. Can you point our Spoonie sisters towards some of do you have some favorite articles or blogs or accounts that you follow that are jam-packed full of useful information?
So when I first got diagnosed with lupus, again, no one in my family has lupus. So it was like a big like learning experience for like all of us. So I had to just, rely on like the internet for that. So one of the sites that I did go on was lupus.org, which is the Lupus Foundation of America. So on there's a whole bunch of just resources, articles, and it was just a go-to guide for, all things lupus. So that website is jam-packed with like information. So I learned a lot of things on that. And then social media wise, I wasn't as, savvy back then. So I didn't know much like how Facebook worked or Instagram. So I didn't realize that there was like this whole like, like realm on social media that like had all of these like informations. Like I wish I knew about it when I was first diagnosed, because I don't think I looked into that until maybe a few years later, when everything was just sort of, at a status quo. But as far as like Instagram accounts, the ones that I usually follow is Freka, Living Lupus Together. She has so much great information on her site. Another one is the Lupus Dietitian. She has a lot of, tidbits on like food and health and nutrition. So I've learned a lot about on her page as well. There's just so many information that we can just find on like Instagram or even on like Facebook groups, that I'm just glad again that I'm living now instead of like 10, 20 years back then. Because again, I don't know what I would have done if I was diagnosed then.
Absolutely. And I agree. I follow all those same accounts, and I don't even have lupus, but there's a lot of overlap in some of our diseases. And quite honestly, I'm so curious. I kind of geek out on finding out all the information, even if it doesn't pertain to me. I guess I could see a purpose for it, even in my own life.
Yeah, it's sort of like we have different chronic illnesses, but we can still relate to it. Like we're all still going through that same journey together.
Absolutely, 100%. Is there any last bit of advice that you'd like to give to Spoonies out there that are listening?
I guess the one thing is that like we shouldn't let our, chronic illness, whether it's like lupus or Sjogren's or non-Hodgkin, like let it like define us. Like when I first got diagnosed, I thought, like my life is over. I know, like, what am I going to do now? Like, I just didn't realize that I could still do so much more even with a chronic illness. So I tell people that, this is just like a part of our story. It's not our whole story. It's like a chapter in our life, there's still so much that we can do ahead.
I agree. Is there anywhere that you want to share that you've been, are you on any other podcasts, featured in any books? Is there anywhere that people can find you outside of social media?
There is one, Amanda Che. She just recently wrote a book, The Girlfriend's Guide to Lupus. Oh my God, I'm forgetting the exact title on that, but
actually, that is it.
There you go. Like brain fog at its best.
Yep.
But she has an amazing book, and I was lucky enough to partake in that. So I think all of the lupus warriors definitely need to take a look at her book, because it is jam-packed with so much information. And again, I wish I had this when I first got diagnosed, because again, it fills in so many gaps that you're just like, what should I do now? So definitely that is a good one.
Yeah, and it's so good. She has a whole section full of advice on what to say when people say the stupid things to us.
And like some people don't even realize it, but I'm just like, hello, yes. You should not say that.
Absolutely. Okay, where can everyone find and follow you?
You can find me on Instagram, Everyday Living Lupus. I also did forget to mention I am also a writer on lupus.net. So I write articles basically just on like just my everyday experiences with lupus, and again, tips and tricks that can help lupus warriors along their journey.
Wonderful. Well, listeners, if you're not familiar with her, you need to go find and follow her. I'm telling you right now, you won't be disappointed. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me and to be on the show.
Thank you so much, Jen.
All right, Spoonie sisters, until next time, don't forget your spoon. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only. Consult your own physician for any medical issues that you may be having. The information should not be taken as a replacement for medical, clinical, professional advice, diagnoses, or medical intervention. My Spoonie sisters and guests will not be held liable for any of the consequences of such action or inaction. Trigger warning. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics including, but not limited to, suicide, abuse, mental illness, and chronic disease. You are advised to refrain from listening if you are likely to be offended or adversely impacted by any of these topics. None of the guests or hosts will be responsible for your use of the information contained therein. Life is not merely to be alive, but to be well. Living a life with a chronic illness is best described with one word: unpredictable. Be Well's products are designed to make the unpredictable easier to deal with. Back when I was getting my infusions, I would have loved to have their adult zip hoodie. They even have one in pink. They also have everything from one-day pill holders to urgency buckets. So remember, they want to make your life a little easier. So be sure to check out Be Well.